Hey guys, so I wanted to talk a little bit about have you ever had a time in your life where you had a really big goal, like a huge goal that was just like monumental? It felt like it was so huge and it felt like a mountain. Like, how were you ever going to get to that goal? Whatever it is, could be in a job, or it could be in family, or maybe a new house, a new place, or just trying to move somewhere, or just something like that, like a particular goal. Could be anything, right? Sometimes some goals in life, though, certain goals at different times can seem very insurmountable and can feel like, oh my God, you're never going to get there. It can feel very overwhelming, right? Even like, let's say if you go back to school and you decide you want to add to your degree, you want to go for your bachelor's or whatever, doctorate or whatever, and at the beginning of that goal, it feels very overwhelming, doesn't it? It feels like, oh my God, like it's going to seem like it's going to take you forever to get there, or you're not sure if you're going to ever see it. Okay? If you ever had a time like that, or you ever experienced anything like that, first of all, I understand, because I have been there like so many times. So many times in my life, I feel like I had a goal and it felt like super huge. So it's kind of like, what do you do? One of the things that I learned back in the day, back in my 20s, when I did Mary Kay, which I still love that company to this day, good products and everything, but I learned a lot from that company, specifically in goal setting. I remember how they really taught us to break things down, to take any goal that you have and to break it down into small, tiny, bite-sized goals. Even, let's say, savings. Let's say if you're trying to save a certain amount of money, which I know that, that depends on the job you have and everything like that, right? But let's just say you get a certain amount of money every month or whatever, how much, and you feel like you should be saving, or you feel like you could be saving, right? And then you decide you want to save, whatever, $5,000, $10,000, whatever, right? But you break that down, okay, very small. It's kind of like, have you ever heard the saying, how to eat an elephant? Like, you got to eat an elephant. And what do they say? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? It's one bite at a time. In fact, I'm gonna look that up, because I typed that in and I want to see what AI says about it. Okay, it says, look, I just typed it in because I love doing that. It says, the saying, how do you eat an elephant? It is a metaphor for tackling a large, overwhelming task by breaking it down into smaller, manageable steps. This concept is applicable to many challenging situations in life and business. However, it is important to understand that in the literal sense, eating an elephant is not advisable and largely considered unethical and harmful. Okay. Anyway, okay, so basically one bite at a time, right? Okay, and that's what that means. And breaking it down. Okay, so anyway, I'm gonna take, for example, for me, like moving. Okay, I didn't have a whole lot of stuff I had to move, but it was kind of a lot, and I needed to do it kind of by myself, in the sense that both of my boys are not close by, and so I started about 2 months, about 2 months or so in advance, and I started taking small trips, very, very, very small trips to my storage unit, right? And just taking stuff over a little bit at a time, to where it wasn't so overwhelming where I had to do everything in one day, and I wasn't super tired. Well, I still was tired because it's still a lot for me anyway in the heat. But and so what felt overwhelming in the beginning, you know, I took that goal and I broke it down into little and made it and spread it out over time. And that's one of the things that I really learned in Mary Kay the most. Like, this is one thing that I really learned in Mary Kay to do, right? And I have applied this lesson so much in my life at different times. Even bills. Even when I've had big bills that I was like, oh my God, I don't know how, like whatever, I've applied it to that too. Okay, so for example, let's say you have the goal of becoming an occupational therapist. Okay, that's a great goal, and that makes a lot of money, right? But it takes a lot of schooling. A lot of schooling. There's different levels to that as well, right? One of the things that you'll need to do is to write your goal down. Well, first of all, one of the first things to do is make a decision. You have to make a decision and be firm in your decision, whatever that is. Okay? Whatever your decision is that you decide for yourself that you feel is the right thing for you. Okay, and you may not always everybody may not always agree with you, right? Everybody, you know, one thing for sure about goals or certain things when you make a decision about yourself, 9 times out of 10, everybody is not going to be down for you. Everybody is not going to be in agreement. And so being a people pleaser is going to literally hold you back. Because if you make decisions for everybody else, you won't be going far, okay? Because you'll be stretching yourself so thin doing everything for everybody else, you'll never get to wherever it is that you really want to go. Okay, so that's for another whole topic though. But besides the point, you make your own decision, you make a decision, and you get firm in your decision about what you want to do. So for example, like I said, becoming an occupational therapist or something. Okay. And then after you do that, you write it down, and of course you do research. You're going to go through a research phase of what is it going to actually take to become an actual therapist or an occupational therapist. Like, what is it going to take? You know, maybe looking into it, maybe even shadowing somebody or whatever, you know, just all the research or whatever. And when you see how much time it's going to take, how much schooling it's going to take, you might decide, you know what, instead of being an occupational therapist, I'll be an occupational therapist assistant. Okay? And being an assistant takes a lot less. It's a lot less schooling, and I can get on the job quicker, and I can make pretty decent pay, right? So you may have to adjust your goal a little bit, right? But nonetheless, you made your decision, and you're now even more confident in your decision, right? So after that, after doing your research, and you go through your research phase, you know, the next thing is, okay, now, you know, I need to go ahead and apply it to different schools or go ahead and sign up for different courses. Now, what happens when some of these courses now interfere with, let's say, the job you currently have? Okay, so let's say the job that you currently have is, you know, at night, and these courses are only given at night. What are you going to do? You know, you have to make your decision, and you have to be firm in your own decision that this is the path you want to take. And so what happens? You may have to actually let go of your nighttime job so that you can now take those courses that you want to take that's going to get you to your end goal, right? Okay, so that you can now go to those courses. So you might have to switch up and get a day job, right? And likely that's the case. And what's going to happen when you go to your job and you turn in your letter of resignation, or you turn in your notice and tell them you're done, you quit? What are they going to do? You're going to have all these managers or people, whoever, going to be like, why are you quitting? Why are you leaving us? You know, we need this, we need that. We need you. You're the best. Blah, 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 blah. We can't live life. We can't live this job. We can't do this job without you. And you're going to have all these people who are going to probably not necessarily want to support your goal. You know, because whatever you're doing right now is not supporting their goal. Okay? And that's understandable. Literally, it's understandable. This is where your discernment comes in, and you have to kind of like think to yourself, like, let me look at it from their point of view. From their point of view, they still work at this old job where I was at, and losing me is going to change and add more to their workload until they find a replacement, yada, 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 yada. And again, if you are firm in your own decision about where you want to be or what your goal is, you will understand from their point of view, you get it, and you'll understand that's just a sacrifice that's going to have to be made. A lot of times when you make certain decisions, certain goals, or certain things, whatever, a lot of times there's going to be some people that are happy and some people that are not. Okay? And when you go in knowing that you can't make everybody happy and everybody's not going to be happy for you, when you go in knowing that, right, and it kind of even expecting that, or even being able to look at it from their perspective, okay, and even understanding them, saying that, like, I understand that's going to be an adjustment for you guys. I have a little saying, well, I didn't come up with it, but I heard it once, and it goes like, hey, it's been real, it's been fun, it's been real fun, deuces, right? Okay, you hear people say that, right? Okay, so it's like, yeah, love y'all, but I gotta go, right? Because you made your own decision, and once you've broken down what it's going to take to get to that goal, that end goal, you know that the path looks like this. I have to go to school for 2 years at night, right? I'll have to get a different job to support this money, whatever. And then once I get this job, I'll be able to afford whatever, XYZ, and then I can move and live over here or whatever, right? So you have this path or this goal over here that looks huge, but you've broken it down into this small, manageable pathway, right? And you have to just understand and just be okay with some people are just probably not going to be happy. You can't make everybody happy, but the goal is to I don't say make yourself happy, like coming off selfish, but the goal is that you have an end goal in mind, that you have something in mind that you're trying to get to, right? And that goes for, that's how you eat an elephant one bite at a time. So it may start out with, okay, I first got to take that plunge and go ahead and sign up for that class. Once I get accepted into the class, which, by the way, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and all that kind of stuff is not easy to get into. It's a capped industry. If you don't know, it's a capped industry, which means they only allow so many people every single year to actually go in and apply for or even be accepted into the course, because they want to keep the industry a high demand. Okay, I looked into it, so consider yourself very fortunate if you can get in, okay? Either one. But anyway, once you do that, then you go in and you say, okay, now I'm going to have to put in, I'm going to have to quit this job. But before I do that, I need to go ahead and get another job, right? A day job or whatever. But then there's going to come that moment where you'll have to go ahead and probably let your boss know or whatever. Some places, some jobs, it's like, who cares? It's no big deal. But I'm talking about if you have somebody who you know in particular, for sure, they're not going to like your decision. And that is what it is, And then let's just say, for example, maybe there's a job that you want to do that your current partner, boyfriend, family, whatever, they don't like it. They're not in agreement with it. They think you're crazy or whatever, and they don't want you to do it. Okay? What do you do then? Well, again, if it is part of your long-term goal, and if it's something that you see yourself as, or you really want to do, you're, you really love this, maybe it's a part of, like who you are, like makeup or whatever, then what happens is that if you decide to try to make other people happy, right? If you decide that that's what you're trying to do, okay, you will try to shove and stuff your true desires down, okay, and you will try to just live life to make that other person happy, okay? And I can promise you, there is literally nobody that I've ever met who ever said they're so happy they did that. There is nobody I've ever met or heard, you've never seen it, where at the end, of whatever, 5 years, 10 years, ends their life or whatever, of anybody who ever did that, whoever said, yes, I'm so happy that I did not pursue my gift. I am so happy that I did not pursue, whatever, that dream job, or that place I wanted to live, or the love of my life, or XYZ, whatever, singing or whatever it is, right? You just don't hear it. You just never hear that. Because why? It was either a lifelong torturous type of situation that you felt because you were shoving your gifts down, or you were shoving what you wanted to do down to please everybody else or whatever. And all you did was have regret. And that's the way it felt. Is regret. And the thing about that is for me personally, I would much rather try and fail than have regret. For me, that's just the way I roll. I have learned that also in Mary Kay. There was a saying, it is better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And maybe not for everything, but for a lot of things, for certain, when it comes, I know for me personally, because I can tend to be very passionate about certain things, and I have tried and failed quite a bit. And guess what? I don't care. It's made me stronger. It's literally made me stronger. And I am fine with that. I feel like great. I feel like, yep, I checked that off my list. I tried. I wasn't good at it. I was good at it or whatever. It didn't work. But I'd rather have done that than to have failed. I'd rather have done that and failed than to have regret, is what I'm trying to say. Because having regret is that little voice in the back of your head that reminds you every single day that you were supposed to be baking cakes and being a cake decorator. Or you were supposed to be a mom, for example, if you never had kids and you wanted kids or something like that. Or if you, whatever, the person that you really wanted to marry and you decided not to marry them because your family didn't want you to marry that person or whatever, and you married that person that your mother wanted you to marry, like in the movie The Notebook or whatever, right? And you know that if you do that over there, you'll make everybody else happy, but in the end, you're going to have to be living with that feeling and that nagging, sinking feeling in your gut that you're sleeping next to the wrong person. And your mother is not even there, right? If you remember that movie. And some people are like myself who are like, you know what? We have a little bit maybe more passion, fire burning to ourselves, whatever, that we are just a little bit more like, gotta go, I'm not trying to make you happy. And I think I learned that lesson many years ago. And there's only so many people you can make happy, right? You got to figure out your one or two people, whoever, that you can actually make happy and go for it, right? Because you can't make everybody happy. You can only, and if you're not happy, you definitely can't make anybody happy, And so I remember even feeling that way, even when it came to marrying my late husband, because he did pull me away twice from somebody else. Because we broke up twice before we got married. We dated for 4 years, and we broke up twice. And both times, I don't know what these men be thinking when you have somebody who is halfway attractive or whatever. You want to sleep on that person, you want to break up. And if you think somebody like me who's not, I'm going to be, obviously, I'm attractive to other people too. So both times, we broke up, somebody else was trying to scoop me up, and he had to come back in and stake his territory, right? But both times, for me personally, I remember when I started dating somebody else or whatever, and it came back to, should I get back with Travis or not? I remember thinking, am I going to have that nagging feeling? Am I going to be wondering about Travis? Am I going to be thinking about him? Am I going to be able to shut down those thoughts? My concerns of him? And am I going to be okay with seeing him with somebody else? Because obviously, if I go stay with this person over here, at some point, he's going to be with somebody else too. And I had to be okay with that. But it was that nagging thought, right? And I knew both times when I couldn't answer honestly, that I was okay with moving on and letting him go and not thinking about him anymore. I knew that there was more there to that. I needed to you know, go back. Like that it wasn't done, you know, and that I didn't want to have that nagging feeling. Just like in the movie, The Notebook, right? She knew when she was trying to get married and she saw the back of the newspaper. She saw, what's his name? What's his name? No, I forget his name. Anyway, when she saw him and she was like, and she freaked out because she knew why she had all that inner turmoil was because she knew deep down inside, if she asked herself that